Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us for this event here today and also just Discoverfest. If you've been to any of the other events this whole week, we've just been packing all sorts of awesome events into the week about business, art, language, like we're doing right now. And it's just been a blast. My name is Jonah from Discover, and so excited to be talking to Damon Dominique. Damon, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm freezing actually. I'm in Indiana with my family. The weather's cold, but the people are so warm.
And that's the vibe. Well, you just got back to the States, right?
Yeah, I'm here just visiting. I plan like one trip a year typically, but I do live in France, which is apparently where you are.
Yes. So I'm here for 4 months, which is also why I've just been like binging your content and picking up everything I can.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, it's been a blast. Was in Paris 2 weeks ago and just having such a good time relating to a lot of your content, especially not to call out, but like the thing about like getting your teeth ready for going home was killing me because I'm like impending doom coming. Order the whitening strips. Like we're
yes.
gonna have to.
I believe what you're talking about is how there's American white and then there's European white, and
Yeah.
people just it's not this is like too fake for them.
Right.
Um, Yes, prepare yourself. The whitening products over there are not as potent. Probably for a good reason. It's
Maybe
probably better.
legally so, not as potently.
Legally so, yes. So wait, I need to know what are your what are your initial like knee-jerk reactions to Paris?
Paris. So I've been to Paris before. I
Okay.
love Paris. Everything that always strikes me is like, holy heck, this is just the most gorgeous city. Every corner you turn, and even half the time the like sidewalk you're walking on is older than the entire, not the entire United States, but once Europeans got there. And
All the pee on
and
the sidewalk, you mean?
what?
All the pee and poop on the sidewalk?
Oh yeah, well that I got a lot better at like watching my feet while I'm not looking at my feet because otherwise you're damned. Yeah, you're
Watch out.
totally screwed. Yeah, and well, and there's some I saw some dog poop there that I think might be older than the United States itself because I'm
Oh
like,
my
is that
God.
historical? Should there be a plaque or something? Is that a famous
Right,
dog?
right.
But I love Paris. It's very different now that I've been to other parts of France. It's very different, kind of like New York, where people are nice, but it's a little more forward. It's a little more abrupt.
Yeah.
Like I think the French are they care a lot about manners, and in
Yes.
Paris, it's a little more of like it's not less so. It's just slightly different. Like yes, we do this every time we talk, and so
Right, yeah, there are all
yeah,
these, like, unspoken rules that you kind of have to learn, especially when you're learning a language, and, I mean, that's the whole point of why I do what I do and how I've made a career on YouTube, kinda just, like, bouncing around and having my own observations about not only Paris, but of the world itself, but no, you're completely right, it's like, being over there, it's not just about speaking French. Even if
yeah.
you speak the best French, but you don't understand like their subtle mannerisms, like your French doesn't matter at that point. You got to know how to work with their culture.
Oh yeah. Well, and I've picked up on some stuff like that where it's like I'll say something, they don't understand me, and then I'll say it again, they don't understand me, and then they're like, "Oh, you mean this?" And they'll say the exact same thing back. And I'm
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
yeah.
I was saying it too slow and clean. I need to like have a drink and mumble it a little
Uh-huh.
bit, and then
Slow
everyone
word.
understands everything I say."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Also, as Americans, we tend to like smile too much, laugh a little too much, and they're a lot more, like let me be real with my emotions. If that joke wasn't funny, like I'm not gonna laugh at it. And
Yeah.
there's something to
Which
notice there. There's something to admire there.
Yeah, and it does mean when they smile and they do laugh, it is delightful, and the room lights up, and it's yeah, I love walking by the
Yeah,
cafes and seeing the French just laughing and talking.
right.
It's delightful. But not to curb the conversation too much, but just to do my little intro spiel, make sure that everyone is in the right place. And it looks like they are. Thank you, everyone, for hopping in the chat. And feel free to use that chat this whole time. We're going to be answering questions. We're going to be diving into, Damon has a little presentation we'll do, but we're also just
Oh,
going to talk French and how to sound cooler in French. And a little background, if you don't know who Damon is, which based on the chat, everyone does, but if you don't, Damon is an American YouTuber who has made a living off of documenting his whimsical adventures around the world, specifically in Paris. And he's learned 5 languages, which is crazy to me, and is already here to help you out with your French. So, Damon, I don't know if you want to, I didn't want to curb the conversation. I don't know if you want to talk about France a little more or go right into your presentation, but
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
here
I'll
for it.
start here. I this is how like much of a miracle it is that I've made a living online. I didn't even know there was a comment section over here. I didn't even see all these people. Hi, everybody.
Oh yeah. Yeah, people are blowing things up.
Yeah, I don't know how I've made a living on YouTube doing this forever. Someone says good old Midwest vibes. Yeah, I'm at my mom's place. If these people in the comments have seen my channel, thank you so much. We are here to talk about, how to sound cooler in French. I want this to be more casual. I mean, if you've seen my videos or know who I am, you know that I'm not a formal person, and that's kind of how I even frame my entire course. I frame my entire course around being as natural and like as friendly and cool as possible, because that's 90% of your interactions anyway, and I feel like so often when we're in our classroom we learn one way to speak, but you're going to use it, but maybe not as often as this other stuff that you kind of really want to talk about. So
Right.
anyways, let's see this presentation that I made. Here's the thing. I barely know how to use technology.
We're all
Let's
good.
try to do this.
Yeah. So I got it up now.
Oh,
cruising.
What a genius. Okay. Yes. So let's go ahead and get in here. God, there's so much happening on the screen right now.
I know.
We got some comments. I'm so excited.
People are blowing up. I love also like just acknowledging the fit. Sophia saying loving the little quarter zip stitch, Damon.
Well, I originally had a different outfit, and wait, quarter is this? Is that what they're talking about?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
I believe so too. Yeah. See, sometimes I don't even know if I understand English, but no, I was wearing something else, and then I realized it's really cold in this house still. No, so here we are. How to sound cooler in French. My course with Teachable is actually called The French I Wish I Had Learned in French Class, because I have taken a gazillion French classes in my lifetime. Here we are, the French I wish I had learned in French class. I have 2 classes with Teachable. One is beginner and intermediate. The other one is intermediate and advanced. And I'm very upfront from the beginning. I'm an American. Like I can teach you up until advanced, but once you are advanced, I believe that's when you need a French person. Up until that point, you can either have one or not. I personally like the approach of, studying almost like you're the understudy of the person who's done it, I do speak fluent French. I've dated a French guy for 6 years. All the comments will be like, oh, here he goes about his ex again.
Was that your advanced teacher? That's when you were ready to...
What is it?
Is dating a French person the next step when you're ready for advanced?
That's yes. Yeah, actually, when you graduate my course, I just have a selection of people to just choose.
Sends you to Tinder in Paris.
Basically. No, so this is my course, The French I Wish I Had Learned in Class. Like I said, there are 2 different classes here. From the get-go, I'm very honest. You're learning from a French person, or you're learning from an American person, but again, I have gone through the process. I know exactly where you're going to be tripped up. I know which strategies you should be using here and there, where you can skip around, blah, blah, blah. But in this presentation, we have about 6 or 7 12 slides. We have 12 slides. We're going to go through a few of the ways that I think you can improve your French, like right now, like right in 50 minutes. All right, let's move on a little bit more, I guess, to who I am. So yes, I'm American. This is actually a picture of a French class that I taught. I used to teach French in a language school in Brooklyn for 2 years. Shout out to Fluent City. If you're in New York City area, I won't be offended. Go take a class with them. They are really great. This is a class that I taught. And I feel like I've been around the block when it comes to learning French. I studied abroad in Paris to learn French. I dated said French man for 6 years, and he's still one of my closest friends. That's why I talk about him this way. And who knows, maybe one day I'll get married. I'm kidding. We'll see.
There's a counter going in the chat, by the way. We got like X mention number 1.
Yeah, well, there should be. We should actually, I should have zoomed him in. I should have brought him into this to the StreamYard over here. Yeah, I've made a living on YouTube making French videos, and actually it was for this reason, the French videos and Paris videos themselves, that I got a visa to go live over there.
Hmm.
My videos teaching people how to sound cooler in French were always the reasons. Yeah, here we go. These were always the reasons it seemed that people came back. And I was like, well, I never really thought my entire life would revolve around the French language,
Hmm.
but dang, like I really should look into this more. So it was really after a few videos that I've made online that hit millions of views. I think, does that one? Yeah, that one has 1 million views. The French I Wish You Knew. That video was kind of like the video that made me be like, oh shoot, maybe I should make an entire class about this. So as we see here, some comments of people. If anyone's here right now, thank you, thank you. Any of these comments. The bottom line was that when you're learning a language, you want to sound like you, right? And I feel like that's kind of what people saw in my videos. They're like, oh shoot, I'm so boring when I learn a language that I don't even want to speak because I don't even sound that interesting. Yeah, so I was tired of just always having to abide by course curriculums and my boss who said I could do this or that, or if you're learning French at a school, there's so many rules in place. You can learn this, but you shouldn't learn this. And I was like, why don't I just teach my own class over here?
Hmm.
Why don't I just kind of take it all in under my own control and just do it, Let's see here. Gosh, there's so much to get to. I'm looking at my notes like, what do I really need to say?
We're doing great. If you look in the chat, they're already like, Annalise is saying take a shot every time he mentions his ex, and then they're like, no, I would have to get my stomach pumped. So everyone's having a good time.
They need to stop it over there. No, but for real, they are the reasons why I actually sat my ass down and I said, you are going to make a French class from A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
How you would teach this. You have nobody kind of looking over your shoulder telling you that you can't talk about how to flirt with people, that you're not allowed to talk about going to the clinic, or you're not allowed to, like I was finally able to create a class that I really wanted. It's not to say that other French classes were bad. Like we need that French too. But what always seemed to be lacking was like, all right, how do I tell the waiter that my order was wrong? And like, I actually want to read, like that kind of stuff,
Right. Which is like what you just, regardless of your level of a language, when you go to the country, that's what you need right off the bat, or you're going to feel lonely and scared and disheartened. It's appreciate that. Yeah.
And I guess lastly, just to wrap up why I wanted to make a course in the first place. So my YouTube, I've had all this experience, my own experience in France and with French people. But then lastly, I just saw, like I live in Paris now, and I would always see that when English speakers would come over to France and, try to practice their French, I was always like, nah, I know what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to do. And that's the wrong word. And they would say it like this. And I have like a list of these, like, an American will come to France and they'll be like, j'attends pour le bus. Like, I'm waiting for the bus, for. And I'm like, that's how you'd say it in English, but that's not how you'd say it in French. They would say, j'attends le bus. I'm waiting the bus. And, that's something that you wouldn't know. Like, you just wouldn't know that. And again, I think that's one of the benefits of learning with somebody who's just like you, because they can see how your brain, they see the questions you're going to have. So, or maybe you're trying to order French fries and you're like, je vais avoir les frites. I'm going to have the fries. They wouldn't say I'm going to have the fries. They're going to say I'm going to take the fries. So yeah, they have all. Anyways, I've like noticed these things, and
how do you say that quick? Give me.
You would say je vais prendre les frites. I'm going to take fries.
That makes so much sense. That's why they didn't know what the heck I was saying when I.
Yeah, because if you say I'm going to have the fries, they're like, cool, you're gonna have some fries. Like, did you want some? Like, they would just get a little confused,
Right. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways, let's get in here to the actual presentation. This course is broken, or I guess we have 50 minutes. I have it broken down, this presentation, down into 3 different sections. We have sounds, to like convincing sounds that will make you sound French. Then we have your mannerisms with your body, the way you move your mouth, the way that you're just positioned in a room. And then the other one is just filler words that you're probably not using that, just easy additions to your sentence that'll make you just sound like more fluid and natural. Okay, let's get in here. So number 1, sounds to make you sound French. And we're going to try to go through all of them. I recently came up with a sentence that I'm proud of. Being fluent is all about being silent.
I love that.
It's all about, learning a language, again, is not about being able to talk about an entire paragraph. It's these little things that they would do. Like if I hit my elbow on this table, you don't say ow. You don't say ouch. You would say
Right.
aye.
Ah,
There's a lot of these words that are going to just give you away, even if you are super fluent. So, all right, let's start from the top here. Aller up. Aller up is what you would say if you're like, well, my job's done here. Like time to go. Aller up.
Okay, love that.
Maybe you should repeat them. I can make sure.
Aller up. So you don't like pronounce the H as well, right? Then aller up.
Aller hop. Actually, wait, this is interesting. When somebody, I just realized this now, when you have a basketball player and they're going to make a basket, don't they say alley-oop or something like that?
Yes.
Alley-oop or alley-oop is probably from
alley-oop. An alley-oop. Is that from French?
Where else would it be from?
Right, yeah.
Alley-oop?
Alley-oop. I love it. So like time to hit the old dusty trail, like things
alley-oop. Yep.
Yep.
And actually, aller means go. And if you're ever in a French stadium, like you're watching a football game, tennis, everyone in the audience will say, aller. Like that's the way of being like, all right, come on. Like, let's do this thing. Aller. Yeah.
So
the next one is tac. So you're moving things around your desk. And we would probably be like, or I would say, boom, boom. Like, that's how I would say it. They would say tac, tac. Tac. They would put things down and say tac.
Love that. Okay. Tac. So I'm like, oh, got everything.
Tac, 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 tac.
Tac. Let's go.
Love it. Yeah.
Love it.
The next one, you got stung by a bee or you hit your elbow. Aye.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not ouch.
Not ouch. That's a dead giveaway that you are not French. The next one we have, where are we at?
The bite, like ho or oh.
Not ho, no. That's a different lesson.
Relearn what I just learned. Oh, is it just oh?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You'd be like, oh. You're riding your bike, someone swerves in front of you. Oh,
so it's kind of like what the hell? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of like, what the hell? What are you doing? See, we have so many words for this. They would just all in their note. It's all these sounds. Oh.
I love it that these are unanimous too, that it's like very I'm already like, this is blowing my mind because I'm like, oh, I can hear all these little noises that I've been hearing in France going like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
Oh.
The
next one is ho. So it's the same kind of sound, but more of like a from your throat.
Ho.
Oh la la.
Ho la la.
Or just ho.
Oh, so kind of like the counterpart to like ooh la la, like ho la la.
Yeah, and actually, this is something that I think a lot of anglophone English speakers, they go to France and they think like ooh la la is a good thing. Ooh la la.
Sure.
We always thought of it. We always grew up thinking like, oh, it's a romantic thing. Like that person's sexy. Ooh la la. It's more like you would say it when you're upset or annoyed. Like ooh la. Oh la la la. Oh la 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 la. That's when you know you've pissed a French person off. When they do like oh la 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 la.
Oh la 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 la.
Yeah, like you accidentally stood in front of them in line. Although it's probably the other way around. I feel like a lot of French people, they like do this, they cut. And if you don't notice, you don't notice.
A lot of line cutters in France.
And they're always like the older French women. And I'm just like, you know what? Just go. The next one, if you're ever confused. So if you're confused in this, Jonah, you would be like, huh? There you go. Yeah, because we would tend to say, huh?
Right.
they'd say, "Huh?"
Huh?
Yes.
Okay. So
Uh,
that's what everyone's been saying to me.
"Huh?"
Now I get whenever I speak French, now I see what their reaction is. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
you're gonna see, they're gonna say, like, "Je sais pas
Huh?
compris, hein?"
Okay.
And also, maybe this is something to note when you're writing the French language. A lot of another giveaway when we're writing is that you see how that question mark is a space away.
Yes.
Very important because we would just smush it all together, but a French person would always put a space after or before exclamation points or question marks.
Not periods though.
Not periods. Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't, but no,
Mm.
they keep the period there.
Okay. Cool.
That same word used in a different way. A lot of times French, you're saying your sentence, and then all of a sudden you feel like you need an extra syllable. So the example that I have here is it's this is something they say a lot. It's not my fault. That's c'est pas de ma faute. C'est pas de ma faute, hein? It's almost
C'est pas
like
de ma faute, hein?
hein?
Okay.
C'est pas de ma faute, hein?
Oh, so it's not like an it's not like in the middle of a sentence. It's like an
It's
extra
almost
little.
like I feel like I need something else at the end of the sentence to kind of wrap it off, tie the bow on it. You would add an like
Uh.
c'est pas de ma faute, hein. Ça se fait pas comme ça, hein. Uh,
Would you be like c'est pas grave, hein?
yeah,
Okay. So
that
anywhere you
sounds
just need
great.
a little jazz.
Yeah, and you know what? I think well, Canadians tend to do this. They do a at the end, like
Yeah.
they would kind of do the same thing, but in French it's un.
Huh?
It's
Cool.
funny,
Okay.
right? That we all have these sounds that don't like really mean anything, but they mean so much. Like
I think I never think in English about those things being part of the language. Like you're already just I'm so excited to go out tomorrow and use this.
I'm so excited to go out in France and just go.
Oh la la, yeah.
Hola. Yeah, exactly. People would probably think you're French. So
There you go. Okay. Love
um,
it.
yeah, the last three we have "Oula," you're being asked to do something you don't wanna do. "Hey, Damon, do you wanna do another classic for this?" "Oula, oula," like,
Hola.
that's a little too much. "Oula,
Hola.
oula,
Okay.
oula." Or "Ba." Again, this is one of these sounds that you can kinda throw really wherever you want. It just adds a little bit more personality, a little bit more oomph and attitude. "Bon, bah, oui, bah, non."
Oh, okay. Just like little more
Yeah,
spunk. Yeah. Okay.
anything from somebody asks you where you're from. Boom, bah, I'm from Indiana, but I also lived in LA. It's kind of just like bah,
Okay.
like a starting point.
Okay. And so it's not like rude or
Yeah,
like anything. It's just
it's kind of like
extra
bah,
fun in there.
bah oui, bah non.
Okay.
It's just like again, it doesn't mean anything.
Right. Right.
It's just what they would do though.
Yeah. Cool.
Right.
Okay.
And then the last one, I always like this because again, it's a dead giveaway when us as English speakers, we're hesitating when we speak French, of course, and so we would say, um, uh, and that's because when we speak English, that's the like starting point of everything we say in English. It's kind of like
Ah.
it's like the easiest sound to make. So the easiest sound to make for a French person is kind of in the same position, but it's a little bit your mouth shape is a little different. Because that's the easiest point to make a French sound.
Uh,
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 in Spanish, it'd be or in Romanian. I was just in Romania in September, and they have like this. It's a sound that I've never heard before. It's like oh, ooh,
oh, like back of the throat
yeah,
kind
like
of.
ooh, and that's where their
Oh.
is. They'll be like, oh, I think I'll have I think I'll have the vanilla. It's interesting because again, we think language is just words, but it's actually
Yeah.
where you're producing those words from.
I love that. I've never thought of being a product of like the starting place of most English words. That's so
Yeah.
cool to think about it that way. It makes it,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I guess a lot of these, if we were to review them all, they're kind of all coming from the place where it's easiest to make a sound. Like
right.
I don't know, it's like that's how your mouth is shaped when you're speaking French. Yeah. But we
Okay.
can move on here. We
Yeah,
got some more. We got some
we
more.
got this is so awesome. I'm I'm coming back to watch this tomorrow before I go out.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, so the next category that we have here is how to sound cooler in French with the filler words. So these are actual words that you could throw into your sentence. And again, these I don't feel like these are ever taught, mainly because they don't really fit in nicely anywhere. Okay, so same sort of thing we got going on here. See, the examples that I came up with on my end, I wrote them in English. Again, I don't know everybody's level in this presentation, so in order to make everyone kind of understand, I wrote the examples in English, but I threw in this word so you could see how we would use it. So you're saying a word and you want to stop yourself mid-sentence. That word in French would be fin. So I know that I wrote enfin, which means finally, but they're going to shorten it even more. Instead of enfin, fin. For example, this is how it would go in English. So I think the best way forward, fin. I think the cheapest way forward is to blah, blah, blah.
Ah, okay.
Fin. It's kind of like you cut off what you're saying because you know it was bullshit. Let me rephrase. Fin.
Right. And would you like write these? Would this be in writing, or only if it was really like if you're texting and it's casual? Would you like text with that, or it's
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're writing an email and you're like, I don't know, or if you're on the phone to the post office or your doctors, you're not probably going to throw in like, you're not going to do this. You're not going to do this.
But that's not what we're learning, right? We're learning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
you do need to learn formal French, but I mean, again, formal French is 10% of what you're like, what you speak day to day. Typically, you're talking to your spouse, you're talking to your kids, your friends. That's the 90% that we're learning here.
Got it. Love it.
So, fin.
Fin.
Or we should
Fin.
spend all day learning French. Fin. Let's not get carried away. Like, actually, stop. Like, let's not get carried away. Yes.
Okay, love it. Fin.
Next
That's
we
fine.
have
Okay, so like turn in a quarter in a sentence. Yeah.
fin. Yep.
Cool.
Fin.
Fin.
Next we have après. And
Okay.
après means after,
Right.
but they don't really use it. I mean, they would use it that way as well, but they're mostly going to use it in a sentence like this. Well, I was going to take you to the mall later. Après, hein, si vous voulez, if you want to. Like, après, if you want to.
Oh.
Like, yeah, I think we'd be like, but after all, if you'd like to go, I'll take you.
Oh God, we put so much. Right. So it can replace if in those situations.
If you would like to, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're telling this to your child. Hey, I was going to take you to the mall. Well, if you want to, après, si vous voulez.
Right. Which kind of makes sense though. Like after you decide you want it, then we
right.
can.
No, and
Okay.
there's so many parts of the French language that I look at and I'm like, that makes a lot more sense in French. One of the examples I point out in my French course is in English, even if we're talking about a future moment, we use the present tense. When I grow up, when I am older, I am. We're not saying when I will be older, we're saying when I am older.
That is weird.
I am is present tense. In French, you would say when I will be older, when I will grow up, because it's a future moment. It's not happening right now. Why would we use present tense? That don't make sense.
Right. I wonder, do you happen to know, since you know all these, like, is that the same in like German, the other root language of English, and like
French is my best language. Let me put it that
okay,
way.
cool. No, just curious. That fascinates me.
Oh, me
Yeah.
too, because it completely. There's actually a whole hypothesis called the Sapir Wharf hypothesis that says that our languages, the language that we grow up speaking, our native language, is what shapes how we see the world. So maybe these people who speak French go learning French, maybe they're like kind of seeing the world a little bit differently. Actually, in one of the slides coming up, I talk about how the way. Actually, we'll get to that. It's in the body section. We're going to get to that.
Cool. So yeah.
Negativity.
So après.
Après, yes. Like I really wanted that house, mais après, it wasn't my decision. After all, it wasn't my decision. Après.
Right.
Okay. Next, we have mais. This is almost like the most important word of them all. Everything you say from now on, you could probably add a mais at the beginning. Mais means but, and they use it for everything. So, for example, instead of saying, what are you eating? Tu manges quoi? You could
Mais
say
tu manges quoi?
tu manges quoi is what are you eating, but you
Right.
could say mais tu manges quoi? But what are you eating? Even though
Ah,
you're not like, it sounds odd in English, but in French you could say mais tu manges quoi? What are you eating right now?
okay.
Uh,
And just like
Again, you're
there
not
is there a
interrupting.
weird place to use it? Like a place you can think where like, oh, like if you're the first person talking in a conversation, would that be weird? Or I'm thinking
Yeah,
about
I see what
starting a
you mean.
conversation like you walk in the room and you're like, but
No, it's kind of a way to tease somebody too. Like say you walk into the kitchen and I'm cooking and I'm a bad cook, okay? You walk into the kitchen, I'm cooking, you could be like, "Oh, mais tu manges quoi là?" Like what are you eating? Like what is
okay.
this?
Okay. So very
Yeah.
playful. It's like
Yeah, it
yeah,
is playful. Yeah.
cool. Love it. Okay.
Let's see what else I had. Uh we're going to Florida tomorrow by plane, right? The other person could be like, "Mais non," but no, you said we're gonna go by train.
Min-
Like, but
Okay.
no, like
So they
in
just use
English,
it way more liberally than we do in the
oh yeah,
English language. Yeah.
in a lot of these, that's why it's like I think we as English speakers, when we learn French, we're kind of afraid to use them because we feel like we're not using them correctly or that we're using them in the wrong place. But there are so many of these words as we see that can be just thrown in so liberally, and it'll probably work out.
And you'll sound more French, right?
We know
That's
that
good.
more French, yes.
Yeah.
The
Love it.
next one we have is là, which means right now. So the word you're probably learning is maintenant or en ce
Mhm.
moment. These are
Mhm.
very literal translations, but là literally means there. Again, doesn't really make sense when you translate it into English, but for example, if you're not understanding what I'm saying right now, you could say là, je comprends pas. Like right there, I don't get that. Like that thing you said right there, I don't get it. Là.
Like oh, that does make sense though, because it's like in this moment, here.
Yeah, I guess it does in a
Yeah.
way. Again, you kind of have to like do some mental gymnastics to make it make sense, but yes.
Right. That's my synthesis process. I'm just like, yeah, how does that
Yeah, but
change the mindset? I love it.
this is
Yeah.
super helpful and you'll hear it so often. Somebody will call you and say, "Hey, t'es où là? Where are you right now? Where are
Ah,
you there?" You'd say, "Bon, là, je suis." Okay, well, right now, là, I think if you just translate it as right now, you're good.
right. So like, je suis ici là. Or is that a
Là,
weird thing?
là, j'écoute, une présentation. Là, je suis dans une présentation. Yeah. It's
But
more
oh, so it's more in the front.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay.
of course, if you're driving a car and you pull up to your friend's place, you wanna say, "Hey, I'm here," you would say, "Je suis là." I'm there.
Oh,
You could.
cool.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
but it's
But it
more like
doesn't replace here, right? That's where I was getting. Got it.
right, yeah,
Cool.
là, yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Next, we have genre, and this is the equivalent of how in English we would say like all the time, the example I have is I couldn't understand I couldn't understand a damn thing Damon was saying. Genre, he was not clear at all. Like he was not clear at all. Genre,
Genre.
genre,
Genre.
he was not clear at all. Or
Okay.
I spent so much time making my French course. Genre, I really wanted to make it good. Like I really wanted to make that thing good.
Okay. But is it used as often in
Yeah,
French as English as
yes,
like? Because like,
because like
because
his
genre.
genre. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The only way that they wouldn't use it is, for example, in English, when we're telling a story, we would say, "And he was like, and she was like, and they were like, blah blah blah." Like that, you can't do in French.
So as a descriptor, it doesn't.
When you're telling a story, yeah, the way we tend to tell a story is less like he said, she said. It's more, and he went,
Ah.
and he
Oh,
was
okay.
like, okay.
There's
In
just other
French,
words for that.
yeah, in French, I mean, you would say il m'a fait, he did to me. It's a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing.
Right. 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 Right.
But that's a good
Cool.
question. No, it's more for like when you're going to explain like a story.
Okay.
Genre.
That
Or,
makes sense. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. I
okay.
dig it.
The next one we have is en fait. I swear this is really important. It's something you want to use when you want to reiterate something or correct yourself. Hey, how'd you learn such good French? Well, en fait, I took Damon's class. Like, actually, I took Damon's class, you know?
Oh, en fait?
En
Like,
fait, or like, hey, you said you wanted to go to the movies Saturday? Yeah, en fait, could we go Friday? Actually, could we go Friday?
oh, that's so okay. Oh, that's wildly useful.
En fait, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, en fait, let me elaborate a little bit more. It is super helpful. And again, we as English speakers, when we learn French, will probably think, oh, I want to say the word actually. Oh, let me think. It's probably actuellement. Like, no, 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 no.
But that's so
Actuellement means currently. It's one of these words that look like it means actually, but it's not.
right.
Watch out.
I've
When-
been doing that, so this
no. But
'Cause yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, actually, like French people do this too when they learn English. Um, they use words that they think are the same, but they're actually not the same. And again, this is why I think it's helpful to be studying with somebody who has been there and has made the mistakes and can show you like, hey, don't do it that way. I did it. Don't say that.
Right. And
Um,
done the things you wanna do too, because I've taken French classes, but a lot of it is so like, yes, I wanna know how to say, like, "I want to ride the bike," but so far, I haven't had to say that to anyone in French. I've
mm-mm.
needed to clarify myself or not sound like a total idiot ordering a drink and stuff, so it's
Exactly. Actually, en fait, voilà.
yeah,
En fait,
en fait, yeah,
en fait, I think one of the reasons students, when they're learning languages, can't speak ever is because we teach adults almost the same way we teach kids, which is to say, like, the first thing you learn in school when you're a kid is the ABCs. Okay, that's great, but when you're an adult and you're trying to order things, you're at the restaurant, you're trying to flirt with somebody, you're trying to order some food, you don't need to really know the ABCs. What you need to know first is how to have a conversation. So the first thing that I do in my class, like I literally looked at a textbook and I was like, nah, that don't make any sense. We're gonna do verbs first. You need to learn how to conjugate verbs so that you can actually get speaking immediately. Then later down the line, we touch on the ABCs, but like not right away. You don't need to do that right away. So
right, especially conversationally, right? That's not yeah,
yeah, like
yeah.
you almost never have to spell things out ever. Oh,
Right.
it's not. Yeah.
Lem
Well, the last two on this page were also words that you can throw on at the end to just kind of like round that sentence off. So if you want to say like, "Oh, this is ridiculous," c'est ridicule. Just add on quoi at the end. C'est
quoi?
ridicule quoi. This is freaking ridiculous. This is
Ooh,
ridiculoso. That's how they would add in more. This is how they amplify their sentences. They add on a quoi.
okay. So, like, could I be pardon, mon français est très mauvais, quoi.
Actually, it doesn't sound too bad. Yeah.
Okay.
You said your French is not, yeah, and no, but you
Oh,
could do that.
I've just learned to say that really good.
Or you could say,
But
le français, c'est impossible, quoi.
oh, like, French is so hard.
Quoi. Yeah.
Quoi,
Again,
quoi,
we don't really
right,
do this in English. We would say, like, the way that we would do it in English is like this. We wouldn't throw in a word like they do in French, but what we would do is say, it's impossible. We would put the emphasis on one of the syllables.
Ah, so it's
Like,
like a more literal, like, verbal exclamation mark where it's, like,
yes.
pops off at the end to
Pops off.
cool.
Yes. I like that. It pops off at the end. Yeah. Because in English, all of our words, we emphasize a certain part of them. So
Mhm,
we want to say calendar, we say calendar. We don't say calendar. We don't say calendar.
right.
And this is actually why when a lot of people learn English, we might not be able to understand them sometimes because they're putting the emphasis on the wrong part of the word. They're saying refrigerator, and you're like, what is refrigerator? Oh,
Right.
refrigerator. The emphasis on the fridge part. So the thing with French is that all the stress is placed on each syllable equally. And
Mm,
so I guess this is why they add on these words at the end when they feel like they need an extra oomph.
mm.
So, but you got it. Le français, c'est impossible, quoi. Impossible.
Français, c'est impossible. C'est impossible, quoi. Yeah.
You got it. I mean, you're on your way. You already.
I like that though. That keeps me more on the edge of my seat though. I like that there's words for that. That's fun.
Yeah, it just adds all. Like whenever you feel like your French is lacking, just throw in one of these words. Last we have moi or toi. So again, this is just to emphasize you. Like moi, j'ai rien compris. Me, I didn't get any of that. Or hey, you're charming. T'es charmant, toi. You don't need to do this. This is not wrong if you're not saying toi or moi at the end. It's just like an extra thing to sound even cooler.
Right. Or if someone's talking about, right, you're engaging more. It's more.
Yeah. Hey, what do you think? Oh, me? Moi? Je pense que blah, blah, blah. I think that.
Yeah. You're cute. Oh, moi? Like, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, moi, je suis mignon. Toi aussi, tu es mignon. Yeah,
Right. Love it.
Cool, let's move on.
Yep.
Carrying yourself in French. Now, earlier we were talking about, I said it's all about carrying yourself. I wanted to talk about I was talking about the hypothesis and how there's a hypothesis called the Sapir War Hypothesis that says that the language you grow up speaking can dictate how you see the world. And I find this really interesting. Who knows if it's true? Like, I don't know. I'm not a researcher, but like when French people mock Americans, they're going to be like, wow, it's, oh my God, it's so amazing. Like they actually mock our excitement. And when you look at the French language, I can see why they might mock our excitement. In the French language, when you want to ask somebody like, hey, how is your meal? A French person is not going to say it's good. They're going to say it's not bad. So they're already thinking in a way that's like, damn, my standards are high. Like, it's not bad. Or that's good. Like, it's amazing.
Right.
It's like we in English, our language is like set up in a way that it's so easy to like have all these exclamations. It's amazing. It's so cool. And I'm so impressed all the time.
It's the greatest latte ever. It's
ever.
Like,
yeah, like this is so amazing. And so French people mock us for doing it. And then we tend to mock French people for being a little too snooty or snarky or even negative. But it's like, look at our languages and how they're set up.
Right.
I always think it's super interesting, and you could do this all day long. Just like look at how our languages are set up.
And how that affects the psychology too. Yeah. It's so, yeah. Quick question. Do you like prefer one or the other? We don't have to get like deep into it, but
just like French or actually, well, that's
just question. Like the like, do you personally feel more comfortable in like the everything's freaking amazing, or the little more like, no, you got to impress me if I'm gonna be impressed?
I think I'm definitely a lot more French, or I would just say European in general now. Like I'm back in Indiana, and I already noticed the differences. They do say like, this is amazing, this is so great, and I'm kind of like, but if everything's great, then how do we know it's really great? And then I feel like a Debbie Downer, like, damn it, Damon, shut up.
Right.
No, I would say I'm definitely a lot more French now. I'm also like, yeah, impress me, show me what you got. But another reason I think this is again, when you go to France and you go to Paris, everything is beautiful. The food, the cuisine, the art, the architecture, everything is already way up here. Your standards, like, you got some pretty high standards to impress. So not everything is amazing when you compare it to what you're used to. Whereas maybe, I mean, I'm in Indiana, it's a lot of the nature. So when I go to Paris, I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
But if little Timmy builds an arc in like, art class, they're not gonna be like, that's the best arc in Paris.
Yeah, exactly. I would say that I'm definitely a lot more European. Well, geez, I have so many notes here, but it looks like we're already 46 minutes in.
We are. I'm sorry, we've gotten so in, and I do want to answer a couple questions, so I can.
Yeah, me too.
Can try and be a little more. Did you have anything else about mannerisms you wanted to say though, or was that the?
Let me see here. I mean, geez, I have a lot, but it's no big deal. Like, no, I think we've covered a lot already, and I think it's important not to overwhelm yourself when you're learning a language, because then it's just you get it doesn't get fun. We got to keep this fun.
Yeah. Well, one question with mannerisms, which is just like, and then we can move on, but just a quick, like, body language. Do you have like any advice for just like how you walk or carry yourself right off the bat?
Well,
That's
I
that
would
you
say
notice.
as an American, we need to tone down everything. Um, our voice, our like how we move in a room. I think French people, like again, I've been there off and on for now 10 years. I have a visa. I live over there now, and it's just kind of like they're they're not as excited as people, or when they are, it's real. So I would say
Mm.
just tone it all down a notch. And me too, like, I've lived there so long, but sometimes I gotta tone it down. That's not to say you shouldn't be who you are, like, if you're so happy all the time, be happy, like, they can they're adults, they can, like, interact with you. Um, yeah, I would say just tone it down, that's my number 1
Yeah.
piece of advice.
Well, so first off, for everyone watching, thank you so much for being so active. There's been some awesome conversations going on in the chat, and feel free to pop any questions you have in there. We have Damon for a little bit longer and have the opportunity to ask some questions. Well, those are coming into the chat. Just your course in general. First off, it's available for everyone. The link is in the it's in the description and the comments. It'll be emailed to you as well, along with the replay, which there's a replay for this. So if you want to go back, I'm gonna tomorrow go back and review a lot of that
Notebook.
and make some notes. Um, Style of the course, anything like that. Like, is there a community involved? I'm gonna get a little technical, but just
Oh,
about like what comes with the course. Like, is there a community involved? Is it
yeah,
like lifetime access? What's the kind of style
right.
of the course?
So when you purchase access to the course, you have, well, access to geez, I think it's like 19 hours of French course instruction from me. So I'm sitting on my orange sofa and I'm teaching you in the style that I would want to be taught. It's truly, if I were to sit down with you right here, this is how I teach you. So we run through instruction. You can see my screen. I'm making notes on the PDF that you'll also have, and you can also be making the same notes. Then we go into homework. And this is fun examples. It's like, tell this older lady how to get to the other side of Paris on the metro. Like, these are real life situations that might happen.
Right.
Or, hey, translate these Beyonce lyrics. Like, there's some lyrics in French here. Like, you might want to know what they say. Translate these lyrics, or write your own fortune cookie in French. So you
Ha.
go through the homework, then you have a quiz to go through. Then I check the homework with you. And then if you really want to keep going, I give you extra credit. There's also a Facebook group that you could join. And then I'm constantly updating the course, sending out emails with new additions and playlists and songs that I found that are nice in French.
Oh, cool. So you're given just some like immersion
Yeah,
stuff to
yeah,
like be listening to it.
yeah,
That's so cool. Well, we got a bunch of questions rolling in and we're creeping up on time. So if you're up for it, let's just
yeah.
plow through some of these. Yeah. So Samantha is saying, how do you make French friends while studying abroad? I'm struggling.
Struggling. I'm struggling. Well, gosh, I have a controversial opinion about this. Um, let me give you
Can we
some real,
hear it?
let me give you some real tips first. The first tip is French people stick to their high school friends. Like, that's kind of, it's a
Hmm.
generalization, but they really value their high school friends. My French friends are still friends with their friends from high school. That's their main group. Whereas mine, I haven't seen them in 10 years. Um, so it's like, if you can wiggle your way in and get close to one, that's how you have access to everybody. Again, it was my French ex that got me into his group. So if I didn't have that, I don't know. But here was my controversial opinion. So making French friends is necessary if you want to, learn French and practice. But I almost compared it to, okay, if I were to live in New York, or if I were to live in England, it's not that I want to have only American friends or only English friends, or, for in
Hmm.
this example, only French friends. It's more like, I would say, don't worry so much about having French friends, but have friends who are interested in French, or friends who are living in Paris, but maybe they're not
Hmm.
French either. I think it's less about like French people, French people, French people, and more like, do we enjoy this culture? Let me just align myself with other people, maybe like myself, who live over there. Um, Or I mean, just go to a coffee shop and just like wiggle your English book around and be like, "Anybody need help with their
Right.
English? I can help you." But Tinder,
So,
the Tinder, I think is really the best.
well, that's a love it. Um, hot take. But Bernadette is asking. I hear French saying du coup a
Du
lot.
coup,
Du
du coup.
coup. How would you use this?
Actually, that was on the presentation. I ended up taking it off because I was like, "There's too much on here." Du coup, God, that's a tricky one. Du coup, okay, you're in a conversation, blah blah blah. Du coup, do you? It's one of these words that don't mean anything. Du coup, do you want to go to like? By the way, did you want to go to the store? Du coup, you had talked about going to the store, and then a time
Oh,
has passed, and then you'd be like, "Ah, du coup, did you still want to go to the store? Du coup,
okay.
tu voulais encore aller au supermarché?"
Oh, like a callback.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's almost like a callback. Like, du coup, what are we doing with these two papers again? What were we gonna do with these? Kind of like, oh wait, what are we gonna do? Or hey, did you still want to do this thing? Du coup.
Awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, I love the differences. It's so. What's your favorite French expression?
Gosh, do you know what's the nicest part is that in French high schools, philosophy is required. And so, I mean, it makes sense. So many famous philosophers are French, so there's a lot to study there. And so I've been getting into French philosophy for the past few years, and there's so many great expressions. The one that comes to my mind is I just said this in a video too. That I think that's why it's in my brain. Un œuvre d'art n'est jamais achevé mais plutôt abandonné. Meaning a work of art is never fully finished, but rather something you have to abandon.
Ah,
So, for this, for my French course, for example, if I didn't give myself a deadline, I would still be working on it to this day, 2 years later, a year later after launching it. So, anything you work on is never going to be finished. You just have to kind of be okay with it, of your time on it ending. I like
gotcha.
that. Un œuvre
Yeah.
d'art n'est jamais achevé, mais plutôt abandonné. A work of art is never achieved, but rather abandoned.
It's also a pretty high level, yeah, philosophy for a common phrase. I love that.
Sorry, there's another easy one. It's il faut cultiver son jardin. It is necessary to cultivate one's garden. And
Oh,
what
one's
they
garden.
meant by that is like, instead of always paying attention to all the bad news that's going around and all the gossip, cultivate your garden and be the change for everyone else to come see your garden and be like, oh, dang, he got the chrysanthemums and whatever
Uh,
flower there.
yeah. Like take care of yourself first, kind of like,
Yeah, and
yeah.
be the example you want to be for others, I guess.
I love that. Okay. Uh, Candied Lips is asking, how do you use Conmem? I've never understood this.
That's a good one too. Conmem. Conmem, huh? God, these are hard to come up with right off the bat. Conmem, I use this all the time. Il faut aller quand même. Okay, it's my last day in Indiana. I need to see my grandma. I haven't seen her in a while. And say I'm like, oh, but I'm so tired. I'm like, I don't want to go anymore. My mom would be like, Damon, il faut aller quand même. Even though you're tired, you gotta go.
You got to do it anyways.
You gotta do this quand même.
Conmem. And does it always come at the end of a sentence?
No, I mean, you could also use
No.
it. I try not to overwhelm people, but there's another way you
Right.
could use it. That's like you haven't asked your friend for 10 years to go do something, okay? Then you send them a text like, "Hey, did you want to come to my birthday party?" They would respond, "Ah, quand même." Like, finally, like you're finally asking me. Like, quand
Okay.
même, like, "Oh, actually now you want to ask?"
Okay. I love that. Okay.
Yeah,
So a
these
little
things
diverse.
they don't exactly translate to they're not clean translations, but they're they do translate meaning. It's just like yeah, they don't always line up, but as long as you have sentences that you could compare them to, but I would say it mostly means even though.
Okay. Love it. I relate to this one a lot, so I got to ask, just because I started learning French in high school, but I'm only really getting somewhere with it now. But as someone, I ask, as someone who has been studying French for 10 years and is still stuck on an intermediate level, what should be my main focus to get myself to be fluent?
Ooh, I think the number one tip you could ever do, no matter what your level is is like go through your text messages right now, see what you're saying in your language. Like how do you talk? Because how I talk right now and even how you, Jonah, talk is different. You know, like
Right.
the words that we use, the expressions that we use, our pace. These are parts that get so overlooked. So I would say look through all your messages in the language you speak most of the time, and maybe you'll notice like, oh wow, I say actually this is something I've noticed. I'm doing a project right now, and I noticed that I always say ultimately when I'm writing something. I'm like, and ultimately, blah blah blah. Ultimately is probably a word that I should know how to say in French.
I love that. I don't know why no one's ever been like, you want to learn a language? Start by studying how you talk.
Start by looking at how you speak your
Yeah.
own language. No, for real, yeah. You should
Yeah.
even for real, like, oh, I should probably learn to say for real because I say
Yeah.
it often.
And then it just makes it, then you're going to speak like you do. That just blew my
Yeah, I
mind.
guess the last thing, another tip real quick with that one is pick up a book that you've already read in a subject that interests you. So if you're interested in philosophy, I am, pick up a book in French in philosophy so that you know how to say the words that you're using all the time.
Mhm.
The ego and the mental health and your self-image. Like these are words you should probably know how to say.
Right. Love it. Um, I love this question. Just to bring back to the course briefly, Brianna is asking, what's your favorite part of the course that you would keep if you had to delete everything else?
You know what? This is okay. I was so frustrated in the moment. And if you're taking the course or you want to or whatever, you'll see that some of the time I am frustrated. And it's not because I'm teaching the material, it's because I'm doing the course from my apartment in Paris. And you can hear my neighbors yelling, and then they drop something, and you can hear a siren. I get so frustrated. But I think it's like when I was editing it, I was like, this is gold. This is hilarious because this is showing you like I'm not in a studio, professional studio. I'm really on my couch that I bought from a French thrift store for 100 euros. You're hearing everything. So I think I always try to keep in the parts that are like, for example, that has nothing to do with French, but I think it's interesting. And I think in order to teach an effective class, you have to almost be an entertainer at the same time as being a teacher. Because if you're not having fun, then no one really cares and no one wants to come by.
Yeah, you're like the fourth creator this week that's talked about entertainment and education just
Yeah, you're more an
getting
actor.
totally what?
I would say you have to be more of an actor than a teacher. Like, of
Right.
course, like, trust me, my course.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You're learning.
No. No, but I understand.
Okay.
Speaking of Paris quick, and this was something that I noticed when we were there. So at first I thought the French are super polite and yes, here and there, but like I'm all over the street like, "Oh, pardon, pardon, pardon,
Yeah,
pardon."
you don't have to
But
do that.
Ingrid asked when people bump into each other on the street, we should say nothing, right? Like no one gives a shit. But
Yeah,
like in English, we'll say like, "Oh, excuse me. Oh, sorry." Like if someone like barely touches a hair on you. Is
yeah,
that
and actually, you mentioned, do I feel more French or American these days? And this is the perfect example. When I'm here in the supermarket and I'm going down an aisle and there's plenty of room for both of us, people will move over, but then I don't say anything because I'm like, there was plenty of room anyway. Like, I don't need to say anything.
and they
And
look at you.
oh, like you're welcome. I was like, you didn't need to move over. You didn't.
Right. Which is
So, no, I would say this is just more of a big city thing in general. Like
mm,
if someone bumps into you, you bump into them. I mean, I would still say pardon, but you don't have to be like, pardon, excusez-moi, désolé. I don't think I've ever actually heard a French person ever say the word désolé, which is sorry. I don't think I've
right.
ever heard them say that word. And we learn it like, oh, I'm sorry. You wouldn't say désolé, you would say pardon or nothing at all.
Right. And I guess like so it's again just like it's a more grave situation where you're like actually apologizing or it's like
Or just be like, ah, like I
uh,
think that's all you need to do. Like, oh,
just
pardon.
recognize it.
You're like,
And that's yeah. That's okay. Yeah. The mindset is so interesting. We have time for just like maybe two more
yeah.
questions. And if I didn't get to anyone's questions, I'm so sorry, but you're all asking so many good questions. I'm
Oh
trying to get to
wow.
them.
Again, I wasn't even looking at the comments. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm looking at them now.
No, and if you see one, call it out. I've been trying to synthesize what ones are like, just to get well, we have you here, and we're using these, I want to ask just another language one because these are so fun. Are there good times to use devoir instead of il faut? Always wanted to know.
Actually, yeah, so these both mean like you have to, or it's necessary to, or you gotta. Um, I never use devoir, which means must, okay?
Mm,
Because I have this theory that when like you never want to call out a French person because they're not afraid of confrontation. We are. Like English culture, we try to avoid it. We try to make everyone feel comfortable. We try to do everything to avoid confrontation. In French, confrontation is not seen as mean. It's like, hey, you said something. Can you please clarify? It like critiquing each other in confrontation. It's not like we get all like weird about it. They don't.
right.
So anyways, I don't ever like to tell somebody in French, like, you must do this, because they will come at me with the confrontation. And I'm not ready for it. So, so if you say tu dois, you must, tu dois parler anglais. You must speak English. They're gonna be like, bah non,
Hello.
non, je vais pas parler anglais. C'est pas ma langue maternelle. Pourquoi est-ce que je ferais ça?
Oh la 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 la.
Yeah, oh là là là, oh là, non, non, non. You'd be like, I'm sorry. So I would always say il faut. Like,
Okay.
il faut parler anglais. And the reason I'm doing this is because il faut is like less of a, it means it is necessary to, whereas devoir means must. So you're saying you must,
Right.
and this is all your fault, and you must do this. And they'll be like, moi, j'ai rien fait, moi, c'est pas de ma faute. Hein. Like,
Right.
I would say you could use them interchangeably, but I would use il faut 100 times more than devoir.
Love it.
Devoir, it'd be like je dois, I must, je dois parler plus en français. I must speak more French. But
Right.
if you're gonna tell someone what to do, try to go around it. Say like,
Right.
actually, this is also something when you're on the phone and you want to be like, oh, like you told me to call, you told me to give you a call. You wouldn't say you told me to. You would say one told me to call you.
Huh.
Like a little birdie told me to call you. That's how you would say it. You'd say, on m'a dit de vous appeler instead of tu m'as dit. Yeah.
Okay, that's so fascinating. But that's also, yeah. So, like, if you're using devoir, you really like you
Yeah.
best be ready for getting into something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You must do this. They'd be like, me? I'm not gonna do that.
I love it. Well, folks, we have to wrap up just for time, and we got another event coming up soon. Damon, thank you for giving so much time, and also just can't say how much I appreciate, and I'm sure everyone here appreciates just like the level of thought you've put into like a lot of these things you said. They're not like necessarily words, but
Or
they make
obvious. Yeah,
all,
obvious.
yeah, they make all the difference. So I appreciate your mind, the way it works, and you sharing it and putting your time and energy to that. And everyone, please hop in the comments. You've already been doing it, but continue to let Damon know how much you appreciate him. And
yeah, and I just want to say thank you, Jonah. You're such a natural at this, and also thank
well,
you for
thank you.
everyone who stopped by. This is great. I'm sorry I couldn't participate in the chat more, but I hope everyone got what they wanted out of this.
Yeah, and if people want to reach out to you, do you have a place where people
Yeah.
can?
Yeah, I would say anything in terms of like related to the French course should go to French at damondominique.com. That's how it's me and a few of people who run that email, and I'll try to get your email as quickly as possible. But everything related to my courses with Teachable is there.
Cool. And I have to say, I don't think we mentioned, but last sell here, the course is significantly discounted for a week.
Yes, it should be a good 25% off, is what I
Yes.
heard.
Yes. So
Good 25% off, so yeah.
those links are in the bottom for everyone watching. Go check it out. Think about it for a minute if you want, but it's not there forever. And please, if you enjoyed this hour as much as I did, like and subscribe to the Discover YouTube. We're trying to bring more awesome folks like Damon. Which side am I gesturing? Like Damon, out to share their expertise and help us all learn and become cooler, wiser, better people and entrepreneurs and all of that stuff. Appreciate you so much and have a wonderful day. We'll see you all soon. Thank you, Damon.
Thank you. Merci, merci. Ciao, ciao.
Merci. Ciao.